not number two. If I'm not the one, I'm uncomfortable. See the competition I've been running through. Leveled up, I only see him in my rear view. Switch. Yeah, I'm ballin'. Yeah, I'm ballin'. Been ballin'. Switch. Yeah, I'm ballin'. Yeah, I'm ballin'. Been ballin'. I'm winning, get buckets from the court side to the nosebleeds. Yeah, they love it. I'm winning, get buckets from the first in and the last out. See me coming. First take, I'm hotter than hot. Hotter than some boiling water, I bubble the pot. Team full of ballers, baby, we winning a lot. I'm like Curry with the rock when I get to my spot. I'm tapping in, I'm passionate. This is what passion is. This here, nah, this is no accident. From the start to the finish, I'm cashing in. I am number one, not number two. If I'm not the one, I'm uncomfortable. See the competition I've been running through. Leveled up, I only see him in my rear view. Switch. Yeah, I'm ballin'. Yeah, I'm ballin'. Been ballin'. Switch. Yeah, I'm ballin'. Yeah, I'm ballin'. Been ballin'. I'm winning, get buckets from the court side to the nosebleeds. Yeah, they love it. I'm winning, get buckets from the first in and the last out. See me coming. Been poppin', Sports Center from a little I was watching. Spin a bag like I'm Rafa, call that top spin. How could I not win? This is top 10. From the bottom, gotta sniff out the top wins. I sit back, reflect, and do it again. Hardest milli is the first, now we got 10. Talking 10, 10, 10, 10 times 10 and again. I am number one, not number two. If I'm not the one, I'm uncomfortable. See the competition I've been running through. Leveled up, I only see him in my rear view. Switch. Yeah, I'm ballin'. Yeah, I'm ballin'. Been ballin'. Yeah, I'm ballin'. Yeah, I'm ballin'. Been ballin'. I'm winning, get buckets from the court side to the nosebleeds. Yeah, they love it. I'm winning, get buckets from the first in and the last out. See me coming.
Run 'em, run 'em, run 'em, run 'em, run 'em, run 'em, run 'em. Yeah, just run 'em. I'm on the mezzanine. I go so hard just to fuck up my enemies. Don't need revenge when success is the remedy. Ain't for the top, I'ma do 'em like Kennedy. Mixing champagne with their Hennessy. They falling off, all these niggas is winning leagues. Life gave me limits, I came out with simply. Look, I don't associate, no, we can't congregate. Focus like number 8, my shit is infinite. Move out the trauma, my therapist healing it, Know that you feeling it, I'm just too weird with this, Came with the bass and I'm slapping you niggas, I feel like I'm willing this, Look, stuck in the kill them all at the top of my bucket list. None of you on my fucking list. I go so hard when I come like this, Look, yeah, I go hard and I run up the numbers. Grinding the winter to fuck up the summer. Telling you niggas beware that I'm coming. Coming from the bottom, now stepping on their neck. I've been working, I've been grinding. I need all of my respect. Getting dollars, yeah, euros. Now really cashing check. Mezzanine is on the deck. Mezzanine is on the deck. Coming from the bottom, now stepping on their neck. I've been working, I've been grinding. I need all of my respect. Getting dollars, yeah, euros. Now really cashing check. Mezzanine is on the deck. Mezzanine is on the deck. Tell them that I'm coming, like who I've been coming. Numbers I've been running, I've been up to something. Never run from nothing, gotta keep it jumping. Make sure these niggas is bumping my I go too hard on the used to be late on the rim. Used to make dollars and cents. Now all the figures are six. Yeah, tell them other rap, better keep quiet. When they got a piece, gets it get violent. Always got mine, cause it come try it. Yeah, stepping away from the bottom feeders. It just me on my album, don't need a feature. Couldn't walk in my shoes, not a kilometer, not a centimeter. Coming from the bottom, now stepping on their neck. I've been working, I've been grinding. I need all of my respect. Getting dollars, yeah, euros, now.
Welcome to the only show bringing cops and the community together for some real talk and some real listening. This is uncut. This is uncensored. This is Black and Blue Live. Hey, Black and Blue fam, welcome to Black and Blue Live. I am your host, Dale, like it says right there on the banner there. Hey, welcome to the show today, man. It's been a minute. I appreciate everybody for coming on and checking us out. We are exclusively today on YouTube, so hey, make sure, I'm sure you heard it before, smash those like buttons, like, share, subscribe to the show real quick, and make sure everybody checks out the show because I got a good one for you here today. Today is Monday, and I also want to, before we get ready to talk about what we're going to talk about here today, it's also Jackie Robinson Day, breaking the color barrier for Major League Baseball. So I wanted to give a shout out to Jackie Robinson for doing that. And it's also National Dispatchers Week. So, they take care of us in law enforcement out there in the field by, getting this timely information. It's a thankless job, but I wanted to thank any dispatcher out there watching the show today. So, hey, I appreciate you. Let's move right along. So like I said, I got a real good one for you today. This is a leadership show, Leadership Sessions number 10. I've been doing this for 9 other ones. And I got some law enforcement leaders from across the nation, and we're going to talk about leadership and some other things. So, hey, let's get to it. All right, my first guest here is the chief of police in my home state, where I originally came from. I'm out in California now, but I originally hailed from Ohio. So everyone, please help us welcome to the show, Chief Wayne Hudson.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening.
How you doing, sir?
My name is Wayne. I'm doing well. Blessed to be here.
Blessed to be here. I appreciate you. Tell everybody a little bit about yourself and where you do it.
Well, my name is Wayne Hudson. I'm the chief of police for the Shaker Heights Police Department. Shaker Heights is about northeast Ohio. We're right outside of Cleveland. I'm originally from the Omaha, Nebraska area where I spent 27 years with the Douglas County Sheriff's Office, retired last year, January 4th, and was here January 9th, sworn in as the police chief on January 22nd. Love this community, love this department.
Okay. Have you ever been to that area before you came out there to work?
I have not, no. It was one of those deals where I was going for a certain position at home. God shut that door, but opened up the door to this one, nationwide search, and I was blessed to receive the position.
All right. Well, congratulations. I'm sure you're doing great
Thank
things
you.
out there in Shaker Heights.
Thank you very much.
Absolutely. Next guest here is the chief of police for the Detroit Public Schools Police Department. Everyone, please help me welcome to the show, Chief LeBrit Jackson. How you doing, sir?
All is well this afternoon. Very honored and appreciative to be here.
Great. I'm sorry. Did I pronounce your first name right? Is it LeBrit or LeBrit?
It's actually LeBrit.
LeBrit. Okay. All right. I try to put a little French pronunciation on that. Sorry.
Yeah, no worries. No worries at all.
Yeah. So tell everybody a little bit about yourself, what you do and where you do it.
As we stated, LeBrit Jackson, I am the chief of police for Detroit Public Schools Community District Police Department. We are the only school-based police department in the state of Michigan. Been in law enforcement almost 24 years, in this role for the last 2 years.
All right. Well, I appreciate you coming on to the show and sharing some knowledge with us.
Glad to be here.
Absolutely. Next guest here is a deputy chief. He is with the Westchester County, New York DA's office. Everyone, please help me welcome to the show, Deputy Chief Wade Hardy. How you doing, sir?
Good evening. Doing great. Good evening, Dale. How you doing?
Good. You were in Westchester County. Where is that?
Westchester County borders New York City or the Bronx to the north. So
Okay.
people, we're not upstate. We're downstate. We're, a county of a population of about 1 million people.
Oh, wow. Okay. So
Yeah.
rather large county there. And tell
Yes.
everybody a little bit about what you do.
Okay. I'm the Deputy Chief Criminal Investigator. My name is Wade Hardy with the Westchester County District Attorney's Office. I've been in law enforcement for approximately 25 years, but I had a big gap within that. I started in 1986 with the White Plains Police Department. I retired as a lieutenant in 2008, and then I went to the private sector and I worked in Con Edison corporate security. I was a department manager in charge of investigations, physical security, compliance, and pretty much everything physical security for Con Edison. And Con Edison is the utility that provides electricity, gas, and steam for New York City and Westchester counties. In 2021, I joined the DA's office as a deputy chief criminal investigator, and I've been there, for approximately 3.5 years now.
All right. And real quick for the viewers, what is a investigator for the DA's office? What are their responsibilities? What do they do there?
Well, basically, we assist the ADAs in following up on prosecutions, but we also initiate our own cases. We have 6 squads in my agency, investigative squads. We have our high tech unit, which investigates cyber stuff, child porn, etc. We have our criminal enterprise unit. We have our narcotics unit, public integrity, and I think I'm missing one, but there are 6 units. And we have our oh man, I'm missing one, but we're very busy. We work with all our law enforcement partners. There's 46 police departments within our county. So we work hand in hand with all of them, aiding them with their cases because we have subject matter experts or specialty units within our office. But we also aid other agencies, and we do our own investigations as well.
All right. Sounds like you're busy over there. I appreciate you.
Yeah, thank you.
All right. And then last but certainly not least, he's the deputy chief with the Cuyahoga, Ohio Housing Authority Police Department. Everyone, please help me welcome to the show Deputy Chief Victor McDow.
Hey, it's an honor here to be with this distinguished group of law enforcement executives. And so, yes, I'm Victor McDow. I work for the Cuyahoga Metropolitan Housing Authority Police Department here in the great city of Cleveland, Ohio. It's a lot to say. So I will refer to the agency as CMHA-PD, but I also want to highlight the fact that we just achieved our 9th CALEA accreditation. So we are a very professional organization, and we service more than 55,000 residents throughout the greater Cleveland metropolitan area. I've had the privilege of working here for about 4 years now, but I have over about 2 decades of experience in a number of other agencies as well. But I would tell you, one of the highlights of particularly this position is you get the lived experience of what it's like to work in a public housing environment. And so I'm able to add perspectives around conversations about who to best serve diverse communities and how other communities can best support others similar to ours. So it's an honor to be here. I look forward to the discussion. Oh, and one last piece. I don't want to forget this. Also, I'm currently the president of the Greater Cleveland Noble chapter. So we have a lot of great things going on here in Cleveland. In fact, I'm honored to say that we welcome Chief Hudson here to our region. He's actually my first vice president as well.
All right. Well, thank you all, gentlemen, for joining us to the show, and let's get to it. All right, so this discussion here, we're going to bring up a bunch of topics here today. But if you guys out there have anything that you want to bring up for the Chiefs here, make sure you leave it in the chat, and I'll be sure to get it on to the gentleman here. But my first question is here today. Hey, you started to talk a little bit about what you do and all that, but let's talk about your journey to being a leader in law enforcement. So we talked a little bit off air about, not a lot of us, people that look like us, people of color, being in positions of leadership, let alone, in the law enforcement profession altogether. Let's talk about your journey and what do you see as, potential growth for people of color, people that look like us in leadership positions. We'll start with you, Chief Hudson.
Well, my journey to this position, I took a little awkward path here. Graduating from high school, I really didn't know what I wanted to do. Luckily, I was blessed to have a neighbor that was in the Air Force. So joined the Air Force, did 6 years in the military. When I got out of the military, I went to Wayne State College and finished my degree. And then I joined my department as a volunteer, as a reserve deputy. And I love a challenge. I was challenged early on about making rank. So I took that challenge on and knew that I can have a greater impact on my community if I was to go through the ranks and then have people that I can that respond to me and that I can lead and that way I can help bridge that gap between law enforcement and community. So I promoted all the way up. I got to the second in command of the Douglas County Sheriff's Office. I ran for sheriff in 2022. God didn't see that to be my path, but he did see a path here to the Shaker Heights Police Department. So I'm blessed to be here. I feel that I was put here for a reason, and that is to build that gap, build that bridge between law enforcement and this community here, and along with assisting others in this area to seek out higher positions. I know we're going to talk about it later on, but I brought certain programs here that I think are going to be very beneficial to individuals here seeking out leadership positions in law enforcement, because we have to get more African Americans in those positions.
Absolutely, we do. Absolutely, we do. And that's part of the reason why we're doing this stream here today. So I appreciate you. How about you, Chief Jackson? Talk about your journey.
Similarly, mine did not start in with any aspiration to be in law enforcement. In undergrad, I was going to school for medicine. I wanted to be a doctor. Found out how expensive med school was. So at the time, I graduated high school in '95, and Detroit Police Department was recruiting really heavily. So as I'm a broke college student, hearing about how much they were recruiting, joined the best police department in the country, and all of that good stuff, I said, well, I'll take a couple of years off of my dream job, and then I'll go back and get into medicine. So I got into law enforcement. I was about 21, 22 years old and fell in love with it. Started in Detroit Police Department, left that department and went to a suburban agency. And their most rewarding assignment I had was working as a school resource officer. I was a school resource officer for about 6 years. And I tell everybody, for 6 years, I didn't go to work. I went to the station, I got a car, I went to the schools, and then, my saying was, I'm trying to save the world one email at a time. So found that to be very rewarding. Promoted, rose to the rank of lieutenant in the suburban agency, and was actually looking for adjunct professorships to do some teaching, and saw the deputy chief position in my current agency was open. Talked to the wife, and she said, what's the worst that can happen? You get the job. So saw it as an opportunity to basically lead a department to do what I absolutely loved, and that was to be the second in command for a police department of school resource officers. So I was awarded the position, and then after about 9 months, I was elevated to chief of police. So there I have been. And again, it's probably one of the most rewarding assignments I've had. I think very audaciously. I believe that from the role that we have as this smaller agency within a much larger agency, we can change the trajectory of lives every day. We're in constant contact with these young people. We see them on their best days. We see them on their worst days. And we can shape their view of law enforcement just from a kind word, a little bit of love here and there. So that is it in a nutshell.
Yeah. I really appreciate the job of a school police department. I was an SRO, like you said, you were. I did that for 4 years, and it was really fulfilling. So, hey, I appreciate you. Yeah. Chief Hardy, let's talk about your journey.
Sure. When I was younger, I really didn't like police officers. I was one of those guys that felt they pulled me over for no reason. I was harassed by them. I just felt like, I didn't really know any personally, so I just didn't think they were. I didn't have a desire to be a police officer. My mother worked in a department store as security, and a few police officers worked there as their side job. So she introduced me to a few of them. They seemed like very nice people. And I was like 21 years old. They said, listen, we have a police test coming up. You should think about it, because I was doing different jobs at the time. And I said, all right, you guys seem cool. I'll take the test. I took the test, passed it. About a year later, went through the entire process and got hired. And I look at that as being probably one of the best decisions I've ever made. It's been phenomenal. I had a phenomenal career. The job is amazing. The police work is so rewarding. And I encourage young people all the time, consider taking the police test, consider law enforcement as your career. I started, as a patrolman. I went through the narcotics phase. I did narcotics for probably 12 years. And then later on in my career, I got promoted to sergeant. I was a patrol sergeant. And then I went into community policing. And to me, that was the best part of my career, working in community policing. I was the head of the unit. I was working with young people. I was working with community groups, stores, churches. And I saw that the work I was doing in narcotics, arresting people after the fact, It was definitely needed. But in community policing, like the other gentleman said, when you can get to the young people before they get in trouble or when they're having those tough days, they have to make a decision, and you can help them on the right path. That's so rewarding. So I really enjoyed the community policing aspect, and I did 22 years at White Plains. Then I went to the private sector. I had a great career there. I had some great bosses. I worked with mostly retired police officers in Con Edison. In 2020, after everything was going on with the social unrest after George Floyd, the DA who was running for election was, doing a lot of good things, trying to rebuild police and community, relationships. And when she won the election, she offered me a job because of the stuff I was doing, as far as, with you mentioned Noble. I'm a member of Noble, but I'm also the vice president of the Westchester Rockland Guardians Association here in New York. And we do a lot of community work, and we've been doing it for years. So during 2020, we were very active. And when the DA was running, we did some things together. And she saw the work I was doing, and she offered me a job. And she said, "Your main job is to help continue doing what you're doing with the Guardians, but help rebuild police-community relationships." And I've been doing it ever since. So I love the job, and that's pretty much my journey.
All right. Sounds like you're doing good work over there. I really appreciate that.
Thank you.
Yep. And last but not least, hey, DC McDow, tell us all about your journey and into leadership at your agency.
All right. So my journey is similar to everyone else's so far, but I was washing cars. And what's unique is I was washing cars in the inner city, and I was washing the police cars. And so, like many of you, I can't say that I had the best idea of law enforcement, particularly because around 1999, having a close family member die in police custody, which if it were present day, it would have been a George Floyd incident. So I had a little apprehension, but it's because of those officers who were coming to get their cars washed, who actually took the opportunity to share the joy of their job, but also to encourage me. And so I think it's important to, as I kind of reflected on my career, I reflected on the fact that I was approaching this from my own bias. And because one interaction was enough to change my perspective, in addition to the fact that it was 0 degrees that year I was washing cars. So at that moment, I said, I got to do something different. But what's interesting is, when you're a young African-American man working in a community, what's ironic is that the owner of the car wash told me that this was the best job that I was going to ever have. And so he was angry that I was quitting because he was like, how dare you quit? But from those experiences with those police officers, I will say this was in 1996. I started my career with the Cleveland Metropolitan School District Division of Safety and Security. That's really where I got my footing, because I said, if you can work with inner city kids, you can pretty much work anywhere. From there, I attended police academy, eventually was hired on with a small village. Then eventually I started working for the Cleveland Metro Parks Police Department, which is a large regional park district police division here in the Cleveland area. And so I spent the majority of my career there holding nearly every rank from patrol officer, defensive tactics trainer, detective. I too was on the ICAC task force for a period of time. I was a patrol sergeant, patrol captain. And so I was there for about 17 years. And then when the opportunity came available to promote to deputy chief here at the Housing Authority Police Department, I took a leap of faith and said, I've been doing this for the last 17 years. I'm going to transition these skills to a different style of policing to learn and grow in this profession.
All right. Sounds like you had a pretty interesting journey as well. Some people try to stifle your growth, but you didn't allow that to happen. So I appreciate you.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Hey, gentlemen, let's talk about, how some of those experiences shaped your leadership perspectives and your leadership styles. I know a few of you mentioned that, you didn't want to be police officers to begin with, and you had some people that kind of showed you the differences in police work, the difference that you could make in police work. Also, you had some bumps along the way, but, you made it to where you are today. Let's talk about, mentors, anybody that helped you get to where you are today, and are you doing the same as well? Mentoring people in positions of leadership. Anybody could jump in there.
I'll jump in real quick. Mentors to me are extremely important, especially if you are a minority in this career field, because you need someone to help guide you along the way. I know for me, one of my mentors early on was Sheriff Tom Wheeler, who was a sheriff before I left Nebraska, and another gentleman by the name of Rod Sophie. They really poured into me information and their law enforcement experience. Rob Sophie was our CALIA manager, and he had been a police chief in several different agencies, but he had a wealth of knowledge when it come to best practice that he saw out in the field for CALIA accredited agencies. Sheriff Tom Wheeler, he knew exactly what I wanted to do later on. So for the last 2 years, when he was a sheriff, he basically let me run the show for the sheriff department, which gave me that experience. Now, outside of that, I have professional mentors, Patrick Oliver, um, Kenton Buckner are a couple of individuals. I still use them today. Any major decision that I make, I have at least three mentors. I'll bounce that decision off of two of them just to see if I'm on the right track. I think it's critically important. Now I'm gonna go back to something our young people need to have mentors in their life. We were at an event not too long ago that Deputy Chief McDow group put on at the Brown Stadium. We probably had 160 something young people there, and I asked them, how many people here have a mentor in their life, a professional mentor for what they want to do later on in life? Out of 160 something kids, maybe five of them raised their hand. We
Yeah.
have to do better with that. We have to do better. A mentor will not only help you, coach you, but also they're in those rooms, they're in those spaces that can help open up those doors for you. So
Yeah.
I'm a really big advocate for mentor. I have a formal mentoring program that I brought from the Douglas County Sheriff's Office to Shaker Heights. It covers everything from training, reading, um, different organizations you belong to. It's about an 18-month program. Um, I've seen results in my previous agency, and I'm already seeing results here. And that's something that Victor and I, Chief McDowell, we're going to bring to the local area with our Noble chapter and getting people ready for the next level of assistant chief and chief's positions.
Nice,
Absolutely.
nice, nice.
Right. And I want to give credit to all the appointing authorities who gave me the opportunity to serve. That's first and foremost. Regardless of the person's racial makeup, I think we need all types of individuals to pour into us because they're going to give us the opportunities that sometimes people aren't always going to lend themselves for you. But I also want to highlight the fact that Noble has a Noble CEO mentoring program. There is an application process. This is through Noble National, and it absolutely helps up and coming leaders prepare for these opportunities. But I think it's also important that we also prepare those opportunities for those coming up under us. But what's interesting is, as Chief Hudson asked a question to young people, I think if you ask the average officer all the way up to lieutenant, how many have mentors, I would imagine that very few would raise their hand because mentorship and coaching is still something that is still growing in the field of law enforcement. Most law enforcement agencies, if as you know, they promote through civil service process. Do you really need a coach or a mentor? For us, we do. But for most, they just figure if I understand the organization well enough to pass the test, that's the minimum qualifications to move forward. But what we're talking about is how do you present yourself as the best candidate? But to learn, you're going to have to put yourself in diverse circumstances where you're going to challenge yourself personally to grow.
For
Yeah,
sure. Absolutely.
I agree. Mentoring is very important in law enforcement, within the agency, especially with chiefs and people of our rank. Mentoring younger officers, young sergeants, young lieutenants, young captains, just to help them become better for the people that they're overseeing. But one thing we're doing here in Westchester is we have this thing called GEL, Guardians Enriching Lives, and it's a joint venture between the Westchester County Department of Probation and the Westchester Rockland Guardians, Rockland Guardians are active and retired police officers, correction officers, probation officers, and parole officers. And what we do with probation is we mentor young men and women that are on probation to help them make better decisions. And the results have been, we're not batting 1,000, but we are very successful in, lowering the recidivism in our county. These young men and women are getting job training. They're getting jobs. They're making their appointments and staying out of trouble. They call us when they're having a situation where they need somebody to help them, figure something out. And we meet monthly. And it's like I said, people from the organization who are active and retired in law enforcement are meeting with young men and women, mostly of color, and just helping them figure life out and just giving them that time, that attention. They know that somebody cares about them and they have someone, shoulder to lean on. Actually, we meet again this coming Wednesday, and we're going to bring food. We're bringing like this big spread, and we have a speaker coming in from Chase Bank who's going to talk about financial planning. And it's phenomenal. We've had young people come back. One guy is working construction. He was arrested a few times. He's on probation. He went through the job training program, and now he's doing construction, working 6 days a week, 8 hours a day. He's tired as hell after work, but he is happy. And he came back, and when he came back and gave his story, other young men in the room was like, how do I sign up for that? So it's a phenomenal program, and I think, we have to promote mentoring, not only within our organizations, but outside in our communities as well.
Love it. Love it. Let me get on a comment real quick. First comment of the day that comes to us from a Dance by Sharan Studios. I hope I said that right. Says, after hearing your journey, now your leadership, can you give a previous story, provide a current thought or message when approaching or having conversations with Black males who are hesitant about, and continues with that, about law enforcement?
I'll take that one. The key is just being present. The perception that some people have towards the police, some of it's rightfully so. There was a song made by NWA in the 80s, and I never was offended by that song. My position was, let me not do the things that make people feel that way about me. So it's about more or less consistency versus ending up on a young African-American male who has the preconceived notion about you. Doesn't always work. But you have to show, like anything else, you have to be consistent with your involvement. When I worked in the schools, I had a young man, great young man, but he was troubled, if you will, had issues with authority, not just the police, but authority in general. And I would always make it my business to speak to him every day. Just, hey, good morning, how you doing? And he wouldn't speak. So after about a couple of days of this, I asked him, I said, hey, man, it's customary that when somebody speaks that you speak back. He was like, why are you always talking to me? I said, that's what men do when we meet each other. I'm not afraid of you. You have no reason to be afraid of me. So through that conversation, it kind of led to a lot more. And then he ended up being, like, in that school setting, he was like my right hand in there. It was times where I didn't have to, quote unquote, police anybody because he did it. He knew what the rules were, and we had conversations about what rules and conforming to things that were there to protect them were. There was a no hat rule in the building. And of course, as the police sometimes were often weaponized to enforce school rules, which is not necessarily a good thing. But he would do it for me. He would like, hey, man, take your hat off. OJ said, take your hat off. And it wasn't from a position of he was afraid. It was just respect. He understood that before I'm the police, before any of that, I'm a man. And I spoke to him as a young man to an older man.
Love to hear that. Love to hear that. Mentors. Anybody else want to provide any insight on that?
I mean, I agree. Communication, talking to young men who had that question. Like, I would sit down with a young man and just tell him my journey, my friend's journey. I started where you started. When the thing I mentioned before about the mentoring young men and women on probation. A lot of our mentees who are law enforcement went to the same high schools that the folks that we're mentoring went to. So, and they hear, wow, he knows the same teacher I had. He played in the same park and playground that I played in. And look at him, he's a police officer, and that can be me too. So it's a lot about communicating, not being afraid to talk and have dialogue and serious conversations, and be vulnerable, be open, be honest.
Yeah.
And I'm
continue
agree
and piggy
100%.
real quick to piggyback on what you just said there, DC Hardy. Not only would those kids, I'm talking about you guys' position, the four of you guys on the panel, would they say, look, he's a police officer, he's from where I'm from, he is a chief, he is a deputy chief, he or she, is a deputy chief in this position. Maybe I can do that one day too.
Exactly.
And you're exactly right. It's all about being present. It's all about being consistent, like the other panelists said there. These young men, especially young African American men, they probably haven't seen people like us in our positions. I'm also a member of the 100 Black Men, and the motto is what they see is what they'll be. So you got to ask yourself,
That
if
part.
they don't see us present in the community, in the schools, in the neighborhood, in the barbershops, if they don't see us, who are they seeing and what will they be? We have to be present.
I have to. And real quick comment, real quick, another one from Sir Scrooge. These gentlemen in the South. No one is in the South currently. I guess Chief Hudson, you were the closest to the South there in Oklahoma, but no longer over
Nebraska.
there. And Nebraska, yeah, that's not
That'll
it
count.
as well.
That'll count.
That don't count either.
No.
But you know what? There are people like us in the South, and I'm
Yes,
sure
absolutely.
Yep,
through we could connect that person with somebody
without a
like us
doubt.
in the South if they want to
Yeah,
meet some role models, mentors down there. It won't be a
yeah.
problem.
I've done
Yep.
many a show with leaders from in the South, in Atlanta, in Florida, and Louisiana. So yeah, there are gentlemen that look like these gentlemen on the panel everywhere. And response to you guys answering that question from Dance Studios says, "Love, thank you, appreciate that."
Yep.
All right. So moving on, what do you guys see as the most pressing challenges facing law enforcement today, and particularly, what do you see those challenges being in communities of color, and how do we address them? What do you guys think about that?
If I can go first, it's really recruiting folks who look like us into the profession. That is, to me, that is the biggest issue that faces law enforcement, period. And it is making sure you get the right people in there. Training is great. A lot of people talk about training, that people have to have the right training. But more importantly, you have to have people who have the aptitude for empathy. You have to bring people into this profession who don't just look at it as a job. This is a true calling. I mean, this is at times a very thankless endeavor. So getting people to this profession, they have to understand first, you have to have people to advocate for you, to speak for you. I mean, from this position that I've been in law enforcement, I've been able to argue with prosecuting attorneys about overcharging our kids, to have conversation with judges on behalf of former students of mine who found themselves running afoul of the law when it came to bond and things like that. So without having people to advocate for them that look like them, we are at the mercy of somebody who may not have our best intentions. So it's critical that young people, especially young African American men, understand the importance. We're not the ops. Police aren't going anywhere. And if you ask the average person, I don't care where they are, they want the police around. 99.9% of police do what they're supposed to do, but making sure that very minute fraction, if you will, that are not even allowed into our profession is so important. And the only way to drown those people out is to make sure that there's good people there. I have a Cocker Spaniel, and he's a dog. I don't care if I send him to the finest meow schools out there. He will never learn to meow because he didn't have the aptitude for it. So I don't care if you have a person who doesn't have the aptitude for empathy. I don't care what you teach them; they're never going to learn it.
That part right there. Yep.
Yeah, and I would agree with Chief Jackson 100%. Recruiting these days is extremely difficult. All these panelists been on probably over 20 years and probably can remember the days of getting five, six, seven, maybe 1,000 applicants for these jobs. And now we're lucky to get 100,
Yeah.
150 for these really good paying jobs and what is a noble profession. Now, one thing that I have to do is get into this job and see, are our rules fair for everyone across the board? Is there barriers that is stopping minorities and females from getting some of these positions? So he's taking a hard look at that, making sure that everything's fair, make sure that we have a diverse interview panel, which we do. And then taking a hard look at my numbers and seeing, is there the ability for me to diversify to my department? One thing I do like about my department is they changed from a rule of three, which means you can only look at the top three candidates, to the rule of 20. Because I don't care what anybody say. I've been doing this job for over 30 years. There is very little difference, if any, from someone scoring a 98 to someone scoring a 92 on a test.
Yep.
And sometimes it comes down to that if they're going to be in that zone where they can be considered for a position. So as a chief, we have to get through, we have to look at our departments, look at our recruitment process, our testing process, our selection process, and make sure that it's fair across the board.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
You know,
Yeah,
the other
and
challenge
one,
is, oh, the other challenge is that people have more opportunities than, than I had, 20 some years ago. Who would have thought that someone would say, I'm going to grab a computer and a microphone, start a podcast, and that's how I'm going to make my living? Before it was get a job, you work that job. Yeah, exactly. You work that job, and that's all you knew. That became your identity, was to work. But now kids have, all people have more options, and so we're competing against a generation, a workforce generation that law enforcement and the military, working in factories, or working for the government, those are no longer top of mind jobs, or even working from home. Who would imagine that? But from a minority perspective, especially working in an environment like mine, you're already, recruiting to a population who meets every inequity that you can imagine, from education, health disparities, child infant mortality rates. And now you're saying, how do you take that person who's already dealing with their own trauma and transfer them into this profession where you're going to deal with other people's trauma? So there's so much work that goes into recruiting a police officer than just saying, raise your right hand, take an oath of office, and we'll give you a badge and a gun and a police car.
Yep. Absolutely.
and getting back to the part about the difficult, for law enforcement today in communities of color. Another thing we have to remember is to build equity within our local community, because if a situation happens nationally, one of the chiefs said, 99.9% of police officers are hardworking, honest, and full of integrity, would never hurt anybody. Those kind of officers. You have that one officer that could be 1,000 miles away. He does something that makes national news. Now, locally, you may have issues. So if you build build equity locally through community policing efforts, all kinds of initiatives, then when things happen in another state, you don't have to worry about your community acting a certain way. We've had situations in 2020 right here in my town in White Plains, New York, where there was a rally, and some of the folks that are attending from out of town, and they were actually approaching some police officers, and some of the local people from the black community stood in front of the officers and said, this is not happening in our town. And they said, if you're not from here, you have to leave. And it was on Facebook Live, and I was watching, and I was like, wow, I couldn't believe it. But it was because here people know that the local police aren't the police that did, whatever, murdered George Floyd or did whatever. They know that the police here are good. So if you build local equity and have open lines of communications, and you're transparent, and you should be able to avoid having these situations. As far as recruiting, I think recruiting has to be a 24/7, 7 days a week, 12 months a year, 52 weeks a year job. You have to always recruit. Not just, sometimes you only see recruiting signs when a test is coming up. We're having a test in June, so we got flyers up. We're going to recruit. It's too late. You got to recruit continuously. Everybody in your department has to be recruited. They should go out there every day, making the job look good, promoting the organization, and recruiting. Every once in a while, you have somebody say this job sucks. You don't want to be a cop. Hopefully those voices would be a little less overwhelming. But if everybody can be a recruiter, I think we can get the recruiting game back going again and get people wanting to be a police officer again.
Right. Yeah, it's interesting that you said that, DC Hardy, that it comes from within the agency as well. Because if you have a bunch of disgruntled troops out there, when they go out there and just on regular contacts, you can just see that they're not happy with their job. Somebody thinking about if they wanted to be in law enforcement, maybe they don't want to be law enforcement there because the officers, don't look like they're happy, let alone all the other issues with law enforcement. So, yeah, I
But
appreciate
that's
that.
on leadership, though. That's on leadership. That's that internal procedural justice. If individuals
Yep.
inside your agency don't feel like they are heard, don't feel like they're respected, don't have the equipment that they need, so what do you think? What kind of product do you think you're going to have when they go to the street? That
Oh, yeah.
external procedural justice, they're going to take it out on the public, which isn't right, but that's on leadership.
Hmm.
Exactly. Yeah.
Agreed.
We're
Agreed.
still dealing with human beings with human emotions.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yep. Another interesting thing that made me think about, you hear about that the 99% that we were talking about of good officers out there that are out there doing good work, doing God's work every day, and it's that minute 1%, not even 1%,
Hmm.
0.1% of officers that make us all look bad. You'll hear every day on social media or what have you. Why don't the good officers, if there are good officers, why don't they say something? Thing is, they do say something. We do speak up. It's just you don't hear about it because that's not a sexy story. The media is not going to be reporting on
No,
things that that we
no.
came out and we stopped this officer from doing something that he shouldn't have been doing, or that's not a sexy story. So yeah, it happens every day. You just don't hear about it because it's not sexy enough for the media.
I agree,
Exactly.
100%.
Yeah, yeah. So we were talking about making those daily deposits into the bank of trust. How do we build trust between relationships between the community and law enforcement? How do we do that? We got to do that every day. How do you make those deposits?
Every single day, from the leadership all the way down throughout the entire organization. Everyone should be out there building the brand for the organization, building that relationship between law enforcement and the community. As the chief, my people know they'll see me out there. I have walked almost every neighborhood in this community or tried to, all hours of the day. You got to be available, and you have to have those hard conversations with those in your community who feel like they haven't been treated the best by law enforcement. You have to be able to listen to their concerns, take their concern seriously, and then go back, speak to your personnel, and again have those difficult conversations, because I talk about sometimes when I'm pulled over. I know that I'm treated different until they find out who I am and what I do. And it shouldn't be that way. It should be, everyone should be treated the same across the board. So to build those relationships, you have to continuously make those deposits. You have to be out there in the community. Your people have to be out there in the community, and you have to provide those spaces where you can have positive interactions with people in your community. And that's a lot of community engagement. I know that Victor and I are working on a few things here. We've done a few things last year, and this year we're going to do even more to build a relationship all the way from elementary school to the grown-ups and seniors in our community. Every day you got to be working on that.
Yep.
So when I look at when I reflect on the question that you asked about trust, it really is about the leader's ability to be effective. And so one of the most difficult aspects of law enforcement leadership is how do you be effective? And so the core element of it is what Chief Hudson already said. To be effective, there has to be high focus on engagement behaviors where you're focused on people and outcomes. You can't only focus on outcomes because you need the people. So without those two working in tandem, it is very difficult to be an effective law enforcement executive.
Agreed. Agreed. Anybody else want to
And
jump
I
in there?
Yeah, I think
Go ahead,
also
DC.
you have to promote cultural intelligence and emotional intelligence. Cultural intelligence, understanding that other people did not grow up in the same house you grew up in. Other people
Hmm.
do not have the same dad or mom that you had. They didn't go to the same church. They may not see things the way you see it. You have to understand, culturally, they're going to be different. And you have to appreciate that and learn and build on that. Emotional intelligence, somebody may not be having a good day. You may want to treat somebody a little differently. And this even goes with the folks in your departments, officers. if you know someone is going through a divorce or just had surgery, or a wife had a situation, you may not want to put that person out in the street, and talk to the sergeants, lieutenants, and make sure they understand their responsibility as far as being, emotionally and culturally intelligent, because you can always improve your emotional and cultural intelligence. And I think that plays a big role, especially when dealing with communities of color. You have to promote that cultural intelligence within your rank and file.
For sure. For sure. Yep. Yep. So how do you ensure accountability, moving along, how do you ensure accountability and transparency within, a law enforcement agency, when you were talking about, use of force incidents or, high profile incidents, how do you ensure accountability and transparency with the community? How do we do that?
One of the things is tell the truth and tell it fast. People don't like to hear further investigation and things like that when things are blatant. Obviously, there are things that happen that there is a little bit of question surrounding the incident, but some things not so much. I think one of the things in law enforcement as a whole we get ourselves in trouble with is that when we try to politicize the obvious, you just have to tell the truth. If somebody did something that they had no business doing, it's us as the head of that agency, not just the head, but even other officers, um, to just speak out on what exactly happened. Let it be known that we don't agree with that torture and it won't be tolerated. And I think it goes a long way in letting the public as a whole know, because it was said earlier, what happens 1,000 miles away from Detroit will affect my officers. It'll affect me, because we are in a 24-hour news cycle. We have social media. People have the ability to live stream. I mean, we're talking about real-time information about things that are going on. So how do I look as a law enforcement head when something was clearly wrong that was caught live in living color, not AI, to politicize that statement? No, I need to speak out regardless of how the law enforcement as a whole feels about me, because I don't answer to the people. So if I'm honest with myself and I'm honest to the people, I can sleep very easily at night. I can lie to anybody. But when I'm standing in that mirror and it's just me and that other dude, I have to be satisfied with what I see. So telling the truth and telling it fast is extremely critical in how we're perceived overall.
I say real quick, I think on the flip side, though, Chief Jackson, that could go when an incident is justified as well. Not just when it's wrong, when an incident goes wrong, but when it goes, when it's justified, when that person did have a weapon or it seemed like they had a weapon, and that information can get out there to the public as well, right?
Absolutely. You have to, right is right, period. If I have to pick a side, I want to pick the side of right. So if my officers are right, I should be the loudest voice backing them. I should let them know that what they did was appropriate because it lines up with policy. It lines up with the things that I started agency. So I should support them, because if I'm putting my name on that policy, if I'm putting my name on that SOP, then that means I endorse what they've done. So I should be one to advocate for them when the time is appropriate.
And the other thing you have to do too, for its accountability, is you have to set the standard. You have to set the standard, and you have to demand that those individuals in your agency reach that standard. They have to be, and you're accountable to that standard. One of the things that I did when I first took over this agency is something I brought from Douglas County. I brought a document in. It lists out, I call it my 11 non-negotiables. It covers things like sexual harassment or sexual jokes in the workplace. I met with each one of my employees and we went over each one of those items and they got a copy of it. So everybody know what my standard is. There's something I heard here recently. It says, what you permit is what you promote. You cannot permit that type of activity to fester in your workplace. As far as accountability, if you find it, sexual jokes, sexual harassment, things of that nature, racial jokes, you got to cut that. It's a cancer. You got to cut that out of your organization and continue to set that high standard and demand that individuals in your agency meet that standard.
Yeah, I totally agree with Chief. Go ahead. Go ahead.
No, go ahead, DC Artie.
Okay, I agree with Chief Hudson. You have to set that standard, and you have to hold people accountable that violate policy. I think you should also, like Chief Jackson said, get ahead of it. Get out in front. Immediately, handle the situation. You might have to do an investigation, but get out in front immediately. Don't let it linger. Don't let it fester. Don't try to hide and duck and bob and weave. But most times, in most situations, the act may not be bad, but when it is bad, the officer has to be held accountable, and also everybody should be treated fairly. Sometimes they have that police officer that might be, oh, we like the guy, so we're gonna, like this one. You can't do that, because the person that is not in the in crowd, or the person that doesn't have a rabbi, or the person that doesn't have a hook or connection, they see that, and it's not fair. You have to set the policy, and any violation of the policy, they have to be held accountable. Maybe the punishment might be different because of past acts, but violation is a violation, and if it's criminal, you have to definitely make sure it's thoroughly investigated, and get in front of it. If it needs to be referred to, the DA's office, refer it to the DA's office, and let the DA's office do what they have to do. But definitely get in front of anything that happens before you have to explain why didn't you do it.
Yep.
So to piggyback off of Chief Hardy, I think the perception of accountability is skewed depending on who is defining what accountability is, because as a law enforcement executive, it's my responsibility to make sure that I'm adhering. We have collective bargaining, so I have to adhere to that first. So where the community may have one definition of what accountability means, there's the due process that I have to follow regardless of where that voice is coming from, because we have to be fair and impartial in the administration of justice, both internally and externally. But the last point I want to make is, when it comes down to establishing accountability, the key is really to establish those reward systems so that we can reinforce the behaviors we want, and hopefully the culture becomes so rich that those outliers become obvious, and really they move on and go somewhere else before we get to that point.
For sure. So, we're not perfect in law enforcement, although, the public expects us to be nowadays, especially with all the social media and all that 24-hour news cycle and all that going on. Let's talk about some mistakes that you made as law enforcement, coming up through your career, and even as leaders, that made you better leaders today. Are there any mistakes that you made along the way that you rectified, and now you are a better leader because of it?
I'll start. This is not an easy one.
No, it's not.
But I know. Back when I was a sergeant, I ran a narcotics unit, and we were doing a search warrant, and I did not thoroughly review the folks that were involved, that the house they were going to search, and I wish if I had reviewed it, we would have probably not searched that house, or I guess approached the search warrant a little differently. So, to make a long story short, we hit the house, and as soon as we got inside, I was like, oh boy, I just knew that it wasn't. I mean, nothing illegal. It was just the folks that were in the house. I should have checked, make sure there's no elderly in the house, children, etc. And that sort of check was left to the investigators. I was, swamped, no excuse at all. But I didn't check that, and I wouldn't have allowed the search warrant. Today I regret making that mistake.
Does that go back to trust but verify?
Exactly. I mean, like I said, it was nothing. Everything was signed off on. Everything was correct. It was just the folks in the house. We should have checked to make sure that certain people would not be there. If they were there, it wasn't worth it. For what we were going after, it wasn't worth disturbing the traumatic event that we caused people. It wasn't worth it.
Yeah, real quick story on that behalf. I know I don't know about you guys, but I know a lot of agencies are getting away from doing search warrants, and even especially in my field of ICAC, Internet Crimes Against Children, we're doing a lot away with, actually hitting houses now. We're kind of, trying to see if we can take them away, in a car, and doing a T-stop on the car and rolling back at the house and things of that nature, because, a lot of it's not worth it.
Yeah.
Yep. Anybody else? That's fine.
I'll
That's
go.
fine.
So, no, I
Like
got one
DC
for you.
said,
So I think,
go
Go
ahead,
ahead, DC
DC.
McDowell. Go ahead.
so for me, I think one of the most notable leadership mistakes that I made is I'm motivated by progress. And so, having the opportunity to transition through different leadership roles, I kind of had this idea that once I got to a particular role is where I was going to make the greatest change. But the process for change is really the same. You have to meet the people where they are. And so I quickly learned that, at that time I pushed my staff too fast. But I quickly recovered from it in a way that it didn't derail the relationship. But when I think about all the things that we've discussed so far, I come into this profession with a lot of passion, with the desire to be all things to everyone. I think that's probably the first mistake that I made is just thinking that I can do that in itself.
Yep. Chief Jackson.
To DC Hardy's point, trust but verify. I think a lot of times you want to see the best in people, but when somebody shows you who they are, you really have to believe them. People are human. Some of the best advice I ever got was from one of the worst bosses I ever had, and that's have no greater expectation from anyone to be human. So you shouldn't be surprised when people are overly ambitious to the point of treachery. It's just what we do. As leaders, we are. It's kind of like boxing. You have to protect yourself at all times because the people who you think may have your best interest may not. But you have to make sure that you're not only leading by the example, but being the example. So you eliminate the opportunities for people to capitalize on a human moment that you may have.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yep. Agreed.
Yeah.
Agreed.
No,
So
I
what's
agree.
what's kind of on the backside of that? What's kind of the most rewarding part of your job as a leadership in your organization? What's the most rewarding part of your job? Chief Hudson, go ahead.
Mine
Well,
mine is okay.
Okay, anybody want to jump in there? Go ahead.
go ahead.
DC Hardy.
Well, mine is finding justice for the underserved communities. In my working in the district attorney's office, I see we get complaints, and sometimes people send us a complaint because their local agency did not, I guess, give their situation a lot of attention. Hey, I live in the projects, I'm poor, and they don't care about me. They sent a police officer here. I was robbed, and all he did was take a report. I haven't heard from a detective. So, because we have investigators, I'll reach out to the agency and see what they're doing. And sometimes they are doing work. They just haven't gotten contacted the complainant again. But sometimes they may not have done any work, or they may just have written it off as a minor offense. So I'm able to sort of correct that. Sometimes I'll get my folks to follow through, or I'll get my folks to reach out to the local agency and say, listen, we'll help you with this if you want. So that's one of the biggest rewards is I get to help make sure that people find justice in the criminal justice system.
There you go. There you go.
So for me, I have to start off by saying I'm the first African American police chief in Shaker Heights history. So with that comes a lot of
Let,
responsibility
let, let
and
me
a
let
lot
me
on
give
my
you flowers
shoulders.
real quick, Chief Hudson. Here we go. All right.
It's challenging, but I love it. The most rewarding thing to me is getting out and about in the community and doing community engagement and just see the joy on some of these young kids' face when they see me in uniform. And most times I'll have like, candy or gift certificates or things of that nature. But having those conversations and just seeing like I said, the joy in these young kids' face, um, for them seeing someone the chief of police in their community, someone that they can look up to. To me, that's the most rewarding part of this job is just being able to have that influence on a certain particular part of the community that feel like they have not been treated the best. And at the same time, it's rewarding getting my agency to also get involved in the community, get involved in community engagement. Because once you do it a couple of times, it's like a drug. You love doing it. You love getting out there. You love interacting with the public.
Love to hear that. Love to hear that. Anybody else?
So for me, my biggest reward in the profession so far is the recruitment, selection, and promotion of officers who are really thriving and they're continuing to grow in their careers, because at the end of the day, we really need credible employees. Not just we focus a lot on the police officers, but it's also the professional staff within our organizations who really help keep us operating. So being able to identify those individuals and to see their careers continue to grow is probably my number one reward in the profession.
That's what's up. And Chief Jackson, real quick.
For us internally, our department was best term I can use is benign neglect. Previous basically were retired on duty. So I, being the youngest chief that ever assumed this role, I'm a ball of fire. I really like to get involved at the behest of my deputy chief. I'm always out. He's constantly getting after me, like, where you going? I'm like, hey man, I got to be out here. But it's really just seeing the buy-in, seeing some of the things that making the vision the operational reality, and not for my own benefit, because every decision that I make, the key has to be, how does this benefit the students of Detroit Public Schools? And if I can't answer that question with this way or that way, then it's a decision that I won't make. So really just seeing how the things that we're doing internally have almost an immediate external benefit, whether it be through intentional relationship building, doing different presentations from a public safety nexus to our students, to really just getting in there doing the work. And I tell them, I don't care about how many tickets you write. I don't care about arrests, so to speak. I do care about how many of our young students do you meet them where they are to get them where they need to go. So when I see that, when I see kids who are interested in getting into law enforcement because of the work that we do, I think this is a job well done.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that's a good way to wrap up this conversation. I appreciate you gentlemen for participating on the panel, but don't go anywhere because you are not done. Like I told you in the pregame, we got a little something here for you. And this is family game night, gentlemen. All right, so family game night, and your category today, gentlemen, is follow the leader. Since we're tackling this leadership discussion here, follow the leader, that being exceptional leaders, whether they are real or fictional leaders. Rules of this game: you will try to guess the name of a well-known leader, whether real or fictional, from the 4 clues provided. The clues will appear on the screen one by one. If you guess correctly on the first clue, you'll get 4 points. If you guess it on the second clue, you'll get 3 points, and so on. If you guess it wrong, however, you will be locked out of guessing further clues on that question. All right? Don't yell out your name. Your answer. Your name is your buzzer. So shout out your name, and I'll call on you to answer the clue. All right? So your name is your buzzer. And lastly, the contestant with the most points at the end will be crowned leader of the pack. All right? So here we go. Clear as mud. All right, let's
Clear as mud.
Clear as mud. Here we go. Your first leader. First clue, Detroit.
Axel Foley. Oh, I don't buy they threw that fast.
Wade.
Yep. Was that Wade you wanted to say? Axel Foley?
No, I was just telling him he should say his name. I was just...
I'll let that one slide. Remember, your name is your buzzer. Second clue. Clue. Music.
LeBrit.
Go ahead. Detroit music
goodness.
leader.
It popped in my head and I can't.
Go. Third clue.
Wade.
CEO. Wade. Go ahead, Wade.
Barry Gordy.
It is Barry Gordy, yes.
Oh, okay. That's right.
Next clue would have been Motown. It is Barry Gordy.
Yeah.
You got that on the second clue, so you get 2 points there. All right. Let's moving on. Just like that, gentlemen. He's your next leader. The captain. Nobody? All right. Mariah Carey.
Wade.
Go ahead, Wade.
Derek Jeter.
It is Derek Jeter, yes.
What?
3 points for that.
Wow.
1, 2,
I would
3.
have never got that.
Next
Me
clue
neither.
would have been, yeah, he dated Mariah Carey, who was a shortstop.
I remember that when he dated Mariah Carey. yeah.
Yankee, yeah, that's how you got it. That is Derek Jeter. Yep,
Impressive.
New York.
that's true. That's true.
there you go.
That's true. Yep. All right, next leader is Judge, not Aaron, DC Wade. Jewish,
Victor.
Hudson.
Judge Judy.
Victor, who's that?
Judge Judy.
It is not
No?
Judge Judy. Somebody else want to jump in before the next clue? All right, next clue. Supreme. Last clue. The notorious RBG.
Hudson.
Hudson.
LeBrit.
Hudson, go ahead, Hudson. LeBrit, go ahead. LeBrit, go ahead.
Ruth Bader Ginsburg.
It is
Ginsburg,
Ruth
yes.
Bader Ginsburg.
That's
Yes.
what I was gonna say. I was close. I was close. Do I get credit for that?
No, you don't get
No.
credit for being close. No.
That's definitely not Judge Judy.
All right, gentlemen, get on the board. We got the DC Hardy's 5-1, and we got zeros for Chief Hudson and 0 for DC McDowell. So here's your next clue.
It's an Ohio thing.
It's an Ohio thing. Yeah,
know.
O's. That's what it is. Leader number 4. Here we go. Kal-El,
LeBrit.
LeBrit.
Superman.
It is Superman. Yes. That's
Wow.
his birth given name. Yes.
Yes.
Let's give you 1, 2,
Nice.
3, 4. Yes. Next clue would have been Steel, Lois, and It's a Bird, It's a Plane. It's
Wow.
Superman. Yes.
Good job. Good job.
Kal-El. All right. There we go. Next leader here. Nobel Prize. Incarcerated
LeBrit.
1962 to 1990. LeBrit.
Nelson Mandela.
It is Nelson Mandela. Yes.
God, dog, I was trying to get it.
Man, I was
1,
yeah.
2, 3 points there. All right. Yes. Next clue would have been President, South Africa, Nelson Mandela. Sure. All right. You guys are doing pretty good here. All right. Except for the Ohio gents.
It's a whole nother joke
The
there.
rest of us are observers.
Leader number 6. Here we go. 3-time champion. WNBA. Sparks.
LeBrit.
LeBrit.
Lisa Leslie.
It is not Lisa Leslie.
Oh, that's what I had.
Next one. Current NBA analyst on TNT.
Charles Barkley.
No, nobody got that one. That is Candace Parker.
Oh.
Nobody would have guessed that one, huh? All right.
Nah.
It's all right. Leader number 7. Nonviolent protest. Killed by a fanatic.
Victor.
Hud-
Martin Luther
Victor.
King.
Victor. It is not
Martin
Martin
Luther
Luther King. You were locked out.
Ah.
Independence from Great Britain. India.
LeBrit.
Gandhi.
LeBrit. LeBrit, go
Gandhi.
ahead. It is Gandhi, yes.
Yeah, Gandhi. I was close.
I tried to throw you guys off. Nonviolent protests, killed by a fanatic. That is MLK, but it is also Mahatma Gandhi.
Yeah.
All right. Leader number 8. Tiberius. Sci-fi. Enterprise.
LeBrit.
LeBrit.
Captain Kirk.
It is Captain Kirk.
Wow.
Boldly go where no man has gone before. You got 2 points for that. Tiberius is his middle name for Captain James
Tiberius.
T. Kirk.
Absolutely.
James Tiberius Kirk. Yes, only us nerds will know that. Looks like Chief Jackson's running away with it. Come on, get on the board, Ohio boys. Come on, let's go.
I know.
Let's go. Got a few more here
There's a
for you.
whole nother
Leader number
joke
9. Poet and civil rights activist. Didn't want to show y'all you guys that right away. Recited a poem at Clinton presidential
LeBrit.
inauguration. LeBrit.
Maya Angelou.
Oh, wow. Pulled that one out of the hat.
Congrats.
1, 2,
Wow.
3. Yes. Author of the best-selling autobiography, I Know Why the Caged Bird Sings, and last name rhymes with Xanadu would be Maya Angelou. Wow. He pulled that one out the hat, didn't he?
Yeah.
Okay. Come on now. Leader number 10. I can do this all day.
Basketball.
Super Soldier.
LeBrit.
LeBrit.
Captain America.
Is Captain America, yes.
Wow.
1, 2,
Somebody had
3.
comic books growing up.
Yeah, you a Marvel fan?
You know,
Shield,
we can
Some of
afford
them.
them.
Avenger,
Yeah.
yes. Captain America, yes. I can do this all day. It was this thing in the movies there. He says that all the time. All right. Come on, guys. At least get on the board. Here we
I
go.
know. You might have to have 30 questions, though.
Michigan State.
You gonna get there
LeBrit.
eventually.
Michigan
LeBrit.
State. Go ahead, LeBrit.
Magic Johnson.
Oh, wow.
What?
Wow.
3, 4. Yes. Next clue would have been Smile. Yep, we know that. Showtime. No Look Pass. That is Irvin Magic Johnson. He is from the Detroit area, right? Ann Arbor. So
Lansing.
Okay.
He's from
Lansing. That's right. Lansing, Michigan.
Michigan State's up in East Lansing.
Oh, okay. Wow. Man, he pulled that one. Okay. All right. Maybe, gentlemen, you don't have a chance here. Or maybe you do. Come on. Here we go. Leader
We'll
number
see.
12. Sixth round. Giselle.
LeBrit. Tom Brady.
It is Tom Brady, yes. 1, 2, 3. Next clue would have been TB12. 7 rings. Tom Brady. And he's running away with this, gentleman. Come on
Ain't
now.
he?
He is.
Couple more. 44.
Wade.
Wade, go ahead.
I was gonna say Hank Aaron, but
No.
Chicago.
Chicago. 44, Chicago. Michelle.
LeBrit.
Hudson.
President
LeBrit.
Obama.
It was LeBrit.
President Obama.
It is President Obama.
Man, I should have waited.
2 terms.
Yeah.
Barack
He didn't
Obama.
say the full name. President Barack Obama.
Yeah.
This ain't Jeopardy. All right, 2 more. Here we go. 2 more. At least get on
All
the
right,
board.
I'm getting on there.
General.
Hudson.
General. Let's
Hudson.
give it to Hudson. Who
Colin
is it?
Powell.
It is. Wow.
Powell.
It is Colin Powell. Yes. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yes.
Woo!
From Harlem to South Bronx. Chairman of the Joint
Chairman,
Chiefs of
Joint Chiefs of
Staff.
Staff.
And
Yep.
Persian Gulf War. That is General Colin Powell,
Oh, man.
Secretary
I
of
was
State
scared
as
for
well.
a minute. One more.
All right, here we go. Last one here. Vibranium.
LeBrit. Black Panther.
Yes. King
Good job, man.
T'Challa, Wakanda.
Wakanda.
Yes, we all know Black Panther.
Black Panther.
Wow, exceptional leaders follow the leader. But you know what? Hey, you guys have a chance. Tiebreaker. This one is worth 31 points. 31 points for this tiebreaker. If you guys, can get this, LeBron James passed Kareem Abdul-Jabbar to become the NBA's all-time leading scorer with over 40,000 points. But he is also known as an elite passer. How many career assists does LeBron have? We'll start with you, Chief Hudson.
Yeah.
Go out a number. How many career assists does LeBron have?
8,000.
8,000. Okay. Chief Jackson.
15,000.
15,000. This is closest without going over. Chief Hardy.
15,001.
15,000. and won.
You been watching The Price is Right.
Right? This ain't the cheap. This ain't the Price is
So
Right.
I know what McDow's gonna do. I know what I would do.
12,000.
12,000. All right. And the answer is, gentlemen, 10,987. That would be Chief Hudson with 8,000. He guessed 8,000. Let's go all the way up to 31 points. So that means that Chief Hudson is the winner.
Super high five.
That is funny.
Wow.
We know who the true winner of this thing is. That's okay.
Yeah, we do know that.
We do.
We do know that, but I hope I appreciate you guys being good sports on that. Hey, before I get you out of here, how about some words of wisdom for our viewers here? We'll start with you, winner Chief Hudson.
You know, I will say this here. Well, first of all, thank you very much for having me on the show. I really enjoyed it. This is a very good profession. It is a noble profession. We need as many qualified men and women to join us in this journey in building the relationships between law enforcement and the community. If you are a guardian-minded individual, now, I tell people there's a guardian side of law enforcement and there's a warrior side. People want to say that it's 99% warrior. It's not. It's 99% guardian. If you have a guardian mentality, a servant mentality, please join us in law enforcement and help us protect our communities. Thank you.
Absolutely. Love it. Love it. And semi-winner, Chief Jackson. Go ahead, sir.
Yeah, we're
Yeah, we know who the real winner was.
Best piece of advice I got was from an Outkast song in the 90s. And as Chief Hudson said, if you want to change the world, you start from your corner. You can be extremely impactful in this profession. It's immediate results. You know, when you start talking about to change somebody's life, you can literally do it instantaneously. So if you have any doubts or if you have any aspirations, find somebody that you trust in the profession. Just ask them, you know, how do you feel about what you do? Mm-hmm. And I guarantee you, as long as you ask the right people who are doing it, not because this was the crap job or they couldn't find anything else to do, they will tell you they wouldn't do anything else. So I would highly recommend anybody who, if you don't know what you want to do in life, if you're kind of on the fence, you know, some of my more athletic folks who maybe their high school or college athletic dreams kind of ended, you're in perfect shape for law enforcement. You can make a big difference. So please go do it.
That part. Chief Hardy.
I agree with both chiefs. This is probably the most rewarding career that anyone can have being in law enforcement. It's going to get better. It's getting better. Like Chief Hudson said, you know, come in with that guardian mindset and work, you know, and have the warrior skill set, because 99% of the time you could be doing guardian stuff, building lives, making people happy and inspiring people. And at 1% of the time, if you have to, you know, put the warrior hat on, you'll be ready for that too. You'll be well trained for that. But it's a rewarding career. I highly recommend. Consider it. Talk to a officer. Say hello. Ask him what his story is, and you'll be surprised how much you have in common with him.
Indeed. And Chief McDow.
So I'm reminded of the statement by civil rights attorney Brian Stevens, is that when you want to change something, you have to get proximate to the issues that stand before you. And so for anyone who seeks to change the circumstances, whether it's in their life, their community, you have to get involved and get as close to the issue as possible as you can. As many of my colleagues said, you know, take the challenge and join the public safety. There's a lot of opportunities for you.
Agreed. Hey, gentlemen. Hey, I appreciate you coming up to the show. This was fun. Got some real good knowledge. Hopefully everybody that did watch the show got more viewers here than commented, but maybe they're a little scared there, a little intimidated by you gentlemen, especially from the guys from the O. But hey, I appreciate you guys. You guys stay right there. I will be back in a couple minutes. Here we go. Hey, ladies and gentlemen. Hey, I hope you guys enjoyed this show today. This was real fun. I got some real good guests for you. Hopefully you guys got some value out of this conversation because they had some real good knowledge to share with all of us. Hey, make sure that if you didn't comment today, hey, go back on the replay and check this out. Share this on all the platforms. I'm going to be doing some clips here so you guys can check this out. But, join the profession. Be the change that you want to see. We hear that all the time, that the profession is hurting. People don't want to be police officers. There are people out there that want to be police officers, that want to join this, that want to be guardians, that want to be out there helping. Hey, I'm part of it. These gentlemen that you saw today are part of it. You could be part of it too. Again, this was on Facebook. This was not on Facebook. This is exclusively on YouTube today. I was, on Facebook and all that stuff before, but this is exclusively on YouTube today. So I hope you guys like that concept today. Until next time, Black and Blue Live. My name is Dale. I'm out. I'll talk to you.
Is this